It's looking like clear skies and football weather on Saturday with zero chance of thundering. So we're going to tell you what we've heard about Marshall.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Wolfpack, free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Happy Thursday. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. We now turn our attention to the Marshall Thundering Herd, our opponent upcoming on Saturday. Of course, our last non-conference opponent of the year. A little bit of a breather, I guess you could say, before we dive back into the thick of ACC play. However, this is not a game to be taken lightly. This is a team in Marshall. They are 4-0. They have beaten an ACC team already. We'll cover their schedule in just a second here. NC State has to show up in this one for all four quarters.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree. I mean, anybody who's looking at this game and saying, hey, this is go ahead and put it in the bag. We're going to win this game going away. I'll tell you this much. On paper, we should. On paper, absolutely. It should work out that way. You play the game between the lines.
Yes.
You play the game between the lines. That's an undefeated team. They're getting confident. They're feeling good about themselves. So we'll see. We'll see. But this is a Thundering Herd team that should not be slept on. Much like Grayson's wordplay in the beginning of the episode. Don't sleep on that either, right? No chance of thundering, and we'll tell you what we heard. Come on now. You got to give his man his guts when he's got it, and he got it right there. That was a good one.
You may most recently remember Marshall because we had a home-and-home series with them about 5 to 6 years ago. We beat them in Raleigh in 2017 by a score of 37-20. Visited them in Huntington, West Virginia the following year in 2018 and actually had the same exact score. NC State won that one 37-20 as well. A lot of folks are probably focused on Marshall because of what they accomplished last year, and that was beating Notre Dame in South Bend. Not an easy task for many teams, much less a G5 team. Marshall beating Notre Dame in South Bend, it really has no relevance to this season or to NC State, but the point being here, they are not afraid to go on the road and make the home team sweat. They're not afraid to show up, give you a fight for all four quarters. And if the game is close in the fourth, anything could happen because they have some talented playmakers on both sides of the ball. We'll be covering that throughout the rest of the episode here today. But Marshall's schedule so far here in 2023, they are 4-0. They've beaten Albany by a score of 21-17. They were on the road in Greenville, took out the ECU Pirates by a score of 31-13. That ACC victory I mentioned, they did beat Virginia Tech by a score of 24-17. As recently as last week, they beat Old Dominion by a score of 41-35, a bit of a shootout here. Broad scope, their numbers on paper are pretty solid. They score about 29.3 points a game. They give up about 20.5 points a game. Their pass defense, in terms of pass yards allowed, ranks number 2 in the country. They give up just 143 pass yards a game. So, brand new quarterback here at MJ Morris. He's certainly going to have to bring it, especially when our offense has struggled so much of the season so far. Marshall's no slouch. They're going to come out and they're going to try and put the clamps on a quarterback that we have not seen yet so far. So, it's going to be, again, we're looking at the offensive line to provide enough protection to get MJ to be able to find his receivers down the field. And we're looking at our wide receivers to step up and help out their new quarterback as well. But also in terms of run defense for Marshall, this is where they struggle a bit. They give up about 195 yards on the ground per game. So we've also been harping a lot on the NC State run game. This is your chance. Right the ship. The Marshall run defense has struggled all year. NC State needs to establish themselves early on the ground as well as through the air.
I 1,000% agree. And Marshall has struggled so mightily and stopping the run because their defensive line, they can rush the passer. They are all very wiry, quick guys. They're not good at anchoring against the run. That's an objective truth. Across the board, you may run into one or two guys that you say, he's not bad. He's not bad at stopping the run. As a unit, they have not done a great job. I will say that they're generally where they're supposed to be. They're generally in good run fits. It's just at some point in time, the rubber meets the road, and you've got to stop that guard and tackle from comboing your defensive tackle and climbing, and they just don't have the size to prevent that from happening. You need girth when you're playing down there. That's just what it is, and they're sorely lacking in that area. But what they lack in that, they make up for because, again, those boys can get after the quarterback. They are, you talk about how few passing yards they allow per game. There's a reason. Anytime a team who is undefeated does not allow a lot of passing yards, something needs to be reconciled there because teams are passing the ball to catch up, and yet they still find ways to be really good at that. And I'll tell you why. They have opportunistic defensive backs and a defensive line that, a lot like I said about Virginia, and that if you let them get in that third down speed package, it's going to be a long night for you. Same with the Thundering Herd here.
And Marshall's offense, we're going to touch on a couple of their key features in just a second here, but their rushing attack ranks 52nd in the nation. Surprised that that's not even higher than that. They feature a very good running back, and their quarterback as well can scramble with the best of them. He's very mobile for a quarterback. So that is something to keep an eye on here. Of course, we will mention their players in just a second. And their passing attack, I'd call it pretty pedestrian. Clearly, they have not faced a defense like NC State so far this year. Yeah. But through the air, they're averaging about 243 passing-wise. So certainly an interesting matchup for NC State's defense. You have to think if we can replicate the effort we just saw against Louisville, then we should be able to take control of this game on the defensive side of the ball. But nonetheless, Marshall has some interesting features to their offense that you're definitely going to have to keep an eye on here. And we're going to touch on their offensive players in just a minute. Today's sponsor is eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, that's what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers to roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts that you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. All right, now diving into this Marshall offense, I think you'd be interested to know that their quarterback, a redshirt sophomore by the name of Cam Fancher, he is left-handed, and that's not the only comparison I'll draw. I find his game eerily similar to Brennan Armstrong. I think he stares down receivers a lot. I think he resorts to getting it done on the ground, maybe a little bit more often than he should. Now, in saying that, he has been very effective on the ground. I believe he ran for over 100 yards in their win last week against Old Dominion. So he is a dual threat quarterback by every sense of the imagination. He has been very accurate. He's completing 71% of his passes. However, I think that Marshall often leaves a lot on the table through the air. I think that is because Fancher at times can be very predictable. He's turned the ball over regardless, like I just mentioned a couple minutes ago. If NC State's defense, and more importantly, their secondary, can seriously lock into this game, I think the secondary can really take away a lot of what Marshall's offense will try to do.
Yeah, I totally agree. And by the way, I don't know if you know this or not, but we have a, what's the word I'm looking for? A reality TV star in this game. Do you know who I'm referencing, Grace?
I don't.
So we're talking about the Marshall offense. For those of you who watched Last Chance U, the first few seasons in East Mississippi Community College, their offensive coordinator was none other than
is it Clint Trickett?
Yeah.
Okay.
Clint Trickett. who's now the offensive coordinator at Marshall. And I'll
Good
tell
for
you this
him.
much. I'll tell you this much. Clint tries his best to keep things within the capabilities of his players. He really does. I think he does a really good job at playing to his players' strengths and simplifying reads, having half-field reads, and getting Fortain on the move and all that in order to kind of create some throwing lanes that may not be there otherwise. However, the fact of the matter remains, it's still football. It's still just at some point in time, your Larrys and Joes have to beat their Larrys and Joes. And so far this season, time and time again, Marshall's Larrys and Joes are coming up with the wins there. I will say this. This is by far the most talented defense Marshall will have faced this year. I think that Marshall, in terms of offenses that we played this year, I'd say third. Now that I think about it, I'd say tied for third, maybe. Yeah. Because I forgot about Louisville. I completely forgot about Louisville in my mind there. So yeah,
They didn't look very good against us, but I think they are a good offense.
No, that's a good offense there. We can all play all day and night like they're not. We can all. I told people from jump, Jack Plummer is who he is. He's going, if you pressure him, he's going to throw up some lollipops. And was I wrong? And I'm telling you about this offense. This is not the level of a Louisville, of a Notre Dame offensively. However, we saw what happened when we played around with UConn. We saw what happened. That game was much closer than it needed to be. And, this offense, again, like I said, they keep it simple. They don't have a bunch of game breakers on the outside. They do not. That's just me being honest. In the backfield, they don't have any guys I'm like, oh, man, if he touches the ball, we need to be looking at. But what they do have is steadiness and consistency. What they do have is they make the right play time and time and time again.
Well, I think they have a potential game breaker in their backfield and their junior running back, Rasheen Ali.
Stop it.
You're not afraid?
I'm not.
Well, okay, I'm not afraid either, but he is their best player.
In the words, yeah, I agree. He's their best player, but I'm saying in terms of, am I worried like, oh, he's going to take over this game and we're not going to get it back? No, again, but this is what I mean in terms of they're a consistent team. And I'll give you this. If we sleep, if we end up in the wrong guy, oh, absolutely. Ali could absolutely have a big day. But I'm saying if he's man for man, one of our defenders in the hole, and do I trust our defender to make that tackle, or is it he's going to shake somebody up, take their ankles with him to the end zone, Katie Dids at the doorstep? No, I feel good about that situation.
Yeah. Again, I like our defense's chances to create all the opportunities they could ask for in this game. But if Marshall is to make any noise at all, it will be from their running back, and that is Rasheen Ali. In 2021, as just a freshman, he was one of the top running backs in the entire country. He ran for 1,400 yards and 23 touchdowns, which was tied for first in the country. Missed the majority of the 2022 season last year due to injury. So far in 2023, he has attempted to return to 2021 form. 475 rush yards and 9 touchdowns so far. But again, I do think he's a very solid running back. He's very, very shifty. He makes some nasty cuts that I've seen break a couple ankles in their first 4 games, reviewing some tape. But I think similarly to the task we had against Jawar Jordan in Louisville this past weekend, if the defense can answer the bell for Jawar Jordan, I believe we can answer the bell again for Rasheen Ali here. Our run defense is far too good to allow Rasheen Ali to beat us in this game.
And I think that Rasheen Ali and Jawar Jordan are kind of they're kind of polar opposites. Rasheen Ali goes at about 5'11", 6 feet, about 210 or so, and he is shifty. He's quicker than he is fast. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's slow by any means, but I think he's much quicker than fast. Like you said, if he's the guy that in the phone book, he'll make you miss and all that good stuff. But even then, you got a shot at running him down. Jawar Jordan, he's much more fast and quick. He's much more, oh God, he's running. We're not, we missed. He's gone. That's it. But again, I think the big deal here, the big deal for this Marshall team and their offense again, if you're having an offense that is predicated on do it right, time and time and time again, you've got 2 things that you need to look at in terms of what are we talking about that makes this offense really good or really bad. Offensive line play and quarterback taking care of the ball. Because regardless of whether or not if you have big play explosive, touch the ball and he's going back, sure. And this is no disrespect to Rasheen Ali. This is no disrespect to that young man. It's not to say, he's a slouch. Because again, I will tell you, if we are out of our gaps, he can take this game over. He can take the game over. I'll give him that. But what I'm saying is he's not the type of guy that, again, I'm saying everybody is where they're supposed to be. Our guy against your guy, big on big. What do we get here? I think we'll be just fine. The key for NC State here is winning those one-on-one battles up front, changing the math, and forcing some turnovers. Because, objectively, their offensive line has been very solid this year. There hasn't been a ton of leakages to where you're looking up and saying, man, those guys, those Marshall backs are those boys out of Huntington having to make somebody 2-3 guys miss every play, but they're still making it happen. No, that's an experienced offensive line that is doing what they're supposed to do. And that's a quarterback that they're trying to keep in good situations ahead of the sticks so that he can protect the ball.
In just a moment here, we're going to flip the script and touch on the Marshall defense. Stick with us. College football season is here, and this season, Locked On is kicking up our coverage with Locked On College Football Kickoff Live each Friday. Locked On will go live at 11 a.m. Eastern on every Locked On College YouTube channel. College Football Kickoff Live will cover playoff implications, the conference rivalry games, and go in-depth like only Locked On can. This includes insight and analysis from our stable of Locked On College hosts covering their team every day. Find Locked On College Football Kickoff Live every Friday at 11 a.m. on any Locked On College YouTube channel. You won't want to miss it. Now, getting into the Marshall defense here, we referenced in the beginning of the show, they have one of the best pass defenses in the country. They rank second in the nation in average yards allowed per game. So with MJ Morris suiting up here in his first game of 2023, he will be up against a pretty stout secondary for Marshall. And I also want to tie this back into our offensive line play. We have to be able to give MJ enough time to move around in the pocket, locate the play to be made, and then execute down the field. We've also said that I think our offensive line has been slightly better than a lot of folks have realized. I think some lackluster quarterback play has made them look worse than they have been. But regardless, there has to be enough blocking that MJ is able to pick apart such a very solid pass defense for Marshall.
Absolutely. They've been better than people expect in a passing game.
Yes.
Running game wise, the results are the results.
Yes.
Running game wise, we need to get back on track in this game. We need to. I am telling you right now, it's not even about MJ Morris and what I believe he is or isn't or whatever the case may be. If we end up in a lot of third and longs in this game, it's going to be a long afternoon. It's going to be a long day at the office. However you want to cut it, however you want to slice it, it's going to be a laborious, ugly, drawn-out process. That's what this thing is going to be. I'm telling you right now, the key to beating Marshall, and here's the thing. I want to say Marshall is on a 9-10-game winning streak, somewhere along those lines overall. This is a team with a ton of confidence. This is a team with an air of belief that they can win the game. Do you know how you beat that out of a team? You don't go for knockouts. You go for body blows. You go for bit by bit. Boom, 6-yard run. Boom, 8-yard run. Boom, 5-yard run. Boom, 6-yard run. And then all of a sudden, when they realize, man, we got to commit extra bodies to the box. Then Timmons over the top. Oh, there he is. Then Juice Marine sit down behind those linebackers that are coming and committing to the run too hard. There he goes. Then all of a sudden, you run one of those read options and MJ pulls it. Oh, man. But you need to be able to do the little things first. We need to be able to execute the day one installs of a zone read or a power. We need to have some semblance of a running game where we say, we know we can run this play. We know it's going to get us 5+. We know it's going to get us that. Because, again, this defensive line, for as special as they are in that pass rushing situation, if we can run the ball effectively, which many teams have been able to do this year on them, we'll stay ahead of the sticks. We'll put ourselves in a position to win this thing.
Yeah, getting into that pass rush for Marshall, their top two guys on the defensive line are Sam Burton and Owen Porter. Burton has 4 sacks, Porter with 3.5. So it's proven that they can get to the quarterback as they've been very successful in doing so this year. So yes, it will be interesting to keep an eye on MJ Morris to see how he deals with pressure for the first time this season.
We can't forget the big fella on the inside, Taquay's legs. That man he's got some pass rush juice to him. He's got some pass rush juice to him. I'm telling you right now, that is a guy that he's another part of that. He's listed at 300 pounds. That's the weight that he went to camp at, maybe. For those of you who don't know, you lose a lot of weight through camp. He might have went into camp at 300. That man is no bigger than 290, 285. And again, he's got some serious wiggle. He's got some serious ability to do it in terms of the pass rush. But if we can, again, run downhill right at big number 5, we'll find more success than we will if we're telling ourselves our guards can win the one-on-ones with him. Because, with all due respect, that's not a matchup I want all night. That's not something that I want our guards having to deal with all night. But I proceed to the backers and DBs.
And this Marshall secondary, they have 12 PBUs on the season. They have 5 interceptions. NC State's going to have to show up here on offense. We've said this before every single game this year and just simply have not gotten it yet. This is a game, there's going to be a lot of excitement around MJ. Getting McMahon back at the center position, hopefully to shore up a lot of the offensive line struggles. I'm just about ready to declare this the Michael Allen breakout game. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because a lot of this will depend on the offensive line. But as bad as Marshall's run defense is, you feel like Michael Allen could have a lot of opportunity to finally have a breakthrough game here, and certainly could see it. But Marshall, again, the overall sentiment of Marshall here is they are no slouch. This is not a get-right game for NC State. It's going to take likely all 4 quarters to make sure we put this one away. And if you allow Marshall to stick around, a lot of the same sentiment from like a UConn or even a UVA, even though Marshall is better than both of those teams, the longer you let them linger, their playmakers could very easily emerge and take this game over. And
let me flip that on his head for a minute. Not the longer you let them linger. They're already confident. You have to knock the wind out of their sails. This is not a game that NC State should be showing up to playing as if, oh, we're the favorites. We just need to not lose this thing. No. We need to be showing up as if, again, one of the longest win streaks in the country, dating back to last year.
Yeah.
I am telling you, this is not a team to be taken lightly and slept on. And here's the very interesting thing about Marshall. They have the it factor. And y'all know what I'm talking about. That thing where the sum is greater than the whole of its parts. Where you look at a team, you look at the numbers, and time again, you're like, wait, they won that game? How'd they win that game? And time again, they just keep plugging away, keep finding ways to get it done. I am telling you right now, if NC State allows this team to hang around, if we get a lead and get conservative, if we find ourselves saying, well, it's just Marshall. Okay, it's just an L in the Carter. That's what it'll be.
A lot of the talk has been on Coach Doran and his tendency to get a bit conservative late in the game with a lead. This is not the game to do that. No. You know, we want to see offense. We've wanted to see it all year. But if you get a little too cute against a team like Marshall, like you mentioned, Kenton, they're already coming in confident because they do believe that they can come in here and beat us. They absolutely do.
And multiple of their wins have come via comeback scenarios. Like this isn't the situation where, hey, they've just been up and dominating the entire season. First game of the season against Albany, they trailed 10-0. And found a way to come back, bounce back, make something happen, make something shake there. Like this isn't a situation that's like, oh man, we got them down, the game's over now. That's not how this thing is going to work out. That's it. And if that's what you believe, I'm sorry to tell you, but this Marshall team has consistently, like I said, consistently found ways to say, it's not over yet. Down 21-3 last week. 21-3 last week. And what did they do, Grayson?
Came back and won 41-35.
Ladies and gentlemen and friends and buddies and pals, I'm telling you, this is a team that on paper, it does not make sense. It doesn't check out. You look at their offense and you say, well, the backs are good, but everybody's focusing on the backs, and the quarterback can't, he struggles if you take away those first 2 reads. Everybody should be just fine playing them. And yet, 9-game winning streak. Folks, it's a team to be taken seriously. I don't know what it is about them. I don't know what it is. And y'all know what I'm talking about. You know when somebody has it. You know when you work at that person in the office, like they're not particularly great at their job, but when they walk in, everything kind of ramps up a little. Everybody gets a little bit better. You know what I mean? That person that when they walk in the bar, you're like, that's not the prettiest person here, but everybody's attention seems to just gravitate there. They have it. And again, the only way to stop that from happening, take the air out of them and control the game. Control it. Have that thing go at your pace all the way through.
That'll do it for us here on Thursday. Be sure to check us back out on Friday as we continue discussing Marshall. We will have Kenton's Keys and then, of course, Fan Friday as well, answering some of our top comments of the week. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Get your comments in the box so we can portray them for Fan Friday. We'll see you all then. Until then, go Pack.